Hi there.
Hello, Shane.
Good day. I hope you are doing really well.
Yes. Hello, Masahiro-san.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Masahiro-san, I think I have an email from you to reply to. I'm so sorry to be late.
Thank you.
You have done a translation, I remember.
Yes, that's a Japanese
Yes.
working project.
I sincerely apologize for the delay.
No matter.
Basically, we're good to proceed.
Thank you very much.
I'll just send you the formal reply today.
Okay.
To be honest, what happened is that I marked it as a read email and I didn't get back to it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So what I understand is that, you've got the Japan translated, unofficially published, ready to go.
Yes.
Where to publish it? I think if you send the translated copy to the telco mailing list, then it goes on the record that we've got the translation from you at KDDI, and then we can decide, oh, let's put it in a telco repo or similar. So basically send an email to the telco mailing list, if that's okay, with your translation, and then we'll take it from there.
I see.
And then basically it'll be published on one of the normal OpenChain project repos. I think we have a telco. Yeah, we've got a telco repo. Of course, it's got the specification in it. So if it's okay with our chair, so that's you, Mark. If it's okay with our chair, it would go into the telco repo as a translation of the spec.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can start. So yes, the specification is almost stable. We only have a few things to check today, and after that I will send a last chance email to see if there are comment, and if no comments, I will declare it as version 1. Okay, so I will share my screen.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we go to the pull request, you just opened one correction.
Yeah, the is doubled at the entity.
Okay, that's easy to.
Yeah, subsided.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I should merge that. But I don't have so much button. Okay, this is strange because I don't see how I can merge it, but okay. Let's do it later. So another pull request was this one. So here the idea is that the change is to hide the link, the URL behind the link. And this one I proposed not to do it. Previously, I had some remarks that people wanted to have the URL visible when the document is printed on paper. So I had some remarks that people prefer to have the URL visible.
Okay.
So I would propose not to make this modification. If you agree.
I understand. And the other comment I have, the in 3.11.1.
Oh, okay.
Could you open the?
Yes. Okay. So the document.
Yeah, thank you. The 3.11.1.
Yes.
Yeah, the SigStore URL is also here. So is this the same manner?
Yes. Yes, I put the name SigStore in the URL to have it visible when printed.
Okay, thank you very much. I understand. Thank you.
So, and and the last one is an important comment. When I asked the document to be reviewed, I had one comment by Philippe Ombredan, who is well known for his tools for open source, mainly scan code, and he's the creator of Perl, the package URL, which is a way to uniquely identify a software package. And so he asked if we could add in the spec that the packages should be identified. The package present in the SBOM should be identified with a package URL. So to implement this, I have proposed this addition. So first, in the definition section, I have added what is a package URL. In the description of the mandatory fields, I added one sentence that the package should be identified by a package URL. I didn't put must because that would have been a bit too strong in some cases. For some languages, the package URL is not yet defined or used. Well, I put also one sentence for in the rational section, and finally in the section with the references, I've put the URL of the spec. So, do you consider this is a useful addition to the specification?
Yes, sorry, I'm not familiar with these areas, but yes,
Yeah.
I think very useful, I think.
Yes, in fact, in the SPDX specification, there is a section called external references, and this section lists several ways to identify packages, and package URL is one of them. You have others. You have also the software heritage identifier. You have other ways to identify, but package URL is now the most commonly used. For instance, I've checked what is done by Anchor Sift, which is a tool to create an SBOM for containers, and it uses Perl package URL. It's not an official spec, it's a spec that was created by Philippe Ambrodan, but it's now, as I have written, a de facto standard. So if you agree, I will merge this.
That sounds good to me.
Yes, I agree, I think.
Okay. So as for the issues, I can close this one. So so it's number 68. Okay. So yes, so the other one was in chapter 4, notice of compliance. So you suggested to add one sentence for the reverse. So I think you sent an email.
Yes, and also I added as a comment.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
So could you open the previous page? issue, please.
Issue. Okay.
And also my question. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay.
Here is my example.
Okay. The following statement may be used as statement in the RFP document, order document, or contract document when requesting an RFP purchase orders or outsourced development orders from a software vendor or telecom system suppliers. When releasing software is required to provide. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. So should I move to the pull request page?
So did you create a pull request for that?
Not yet, but
No.
should I do?
Okay. Yeah. So
Okay,
the text seems good for me. So yes, if you can.
Okay,
create a pull request, I will.
Okay.
I will approve it.
Okay.
That's a
I
good
will
idea.
raise the pull request after this meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I think we've covered everything. So any additional remarks?
Yes,
So,
I have one small suggestion.
yes.
Question. So in section 2, chapter 2, we have the RFC 2119-2119.
Yes.
Yes. So we have the updated the 2119 as the 8174. RFC 8194 is the updated version for the RFC 2119. So we had better revise the statement for the RFC 8119, I think.
So what is can you repeat the number of the new spec?
I will chat.
Okay.
8194.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So the difference between them is very small, but the new one, 8194, clearly define the non-capitalized words have their normal English meaning and are not affected by this RFC.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Thank you. I was not aware of that. So yes, I will. Okay. I will add that.
So if possible, if you agree with me, should I have a new pull request?
Yes. Yeah. That's
okay.
Good.
So I will also make new pull request after this meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I will have another meeting today in time zone suitable for US. So I don't know what audience I will have, but as I said, after I integrate your latest remarks, I will, and possibly remarks and addition this in the second meeting. I will declare the spec finalized if there are no comments in the next days. So after that, how should we proceed, Shane? Where should we reference the specification?
Okay, so what we should do when this is ready is we will do two things. One is we will do a webinar about it, if that's okay, to explain it to the community at large.
Okay.
At this point, it will be a completed, essentially, reference specification. So it'll be something that this work group will have made. And of course, people are welcome to use it. But at the same time as having the finished reference specification and doing a webinar to introduce it, we will take the document to the OpenChain Governing Board and see if they want to also turn it into essentially not just a reference specification, but if they want to push it as one of the OpenChain industry standards. So this will give us the status that the work group will have made the specification. It will be marked as complete by them. It will be shared as a reference specification. We'll tell the community. And part two, we can also go to the OpenChain Governing Board. There's a board meeting in September and ask them if they want this specification to be an official, OpenChain specification. That would be in the sense of the same as our ISO standard for license compliance, our forthcoming ISO standard for security. So that's changing it from a reference specification into industry standard. That would depend on their vote. Or, even if they didn't vote to do it at the moment, if the reference specification became used by a lot of people, then of course it might just by sheer momentum turn into an industry standard anyway. So we present it to the community, we do a webinar. Once we've done that, basically I'll find a way to add it to the website that doesn't confuse it with being one of the ISO standards, but makes clear that the Telco group did this. Second track, we go to the governing board, and if they decide to adopt it as an official OpenChain spec, then it would be promoted alongside our other standards. If they don't decide to do that, of course, we'll keep promoting it as a reference specification anyway. So those two things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's very good. Thank you. It's good that you participated to this meeting.
Well, I saw your email. I saw how close this was. And I first of all, amazing work. And I know that you and a small group have basically finished this. So you and Masahiro-san have brought this to completion. But it's a huge, huge deal that this was done. So I wanted to come and congratulate you, but I also wanted to help you with next steps. So the global launch of this as a reference specification, as soon as you're ready, as soon as you tell me it's done, I'll start coming in and basically have a look at the telco repo. I might make some suggested changes, like renaming the MD document, expanding the READMEs, and so on.
Yeah.
Basically, I'll be fake lawyer guy, and I'll be like, let's use very cautious words, blah, 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 blah. And then we do our webinar. We do it in July. We do it this month, and we promote it heavily as a document that's out there. We tell the other communities like SPDX, and I go to our governing board and we see what they want to do.
Okay, good.
By the way, and this is just for your reference and also Masahiro-san's reference. When we started our very first standard, our compliance standard, it came out as drafts. It came out then as a specification, and we were very careful not to call it a standard. We just called it a specification. and over time it built momentum. So we're just doing the exact same thing with this one. We're going to put it out. We'll use careful wording in the beginning, and we'll try to build momentum around it. But what should be clear for you, and will be clear in all the messaging, is that a reference specification is ready to be used. It's what people have just done. So it's a case of this is done, we can use it. It's just not adopted enough yet to call it a standard. There aren't companies officially announcing that they're using it yet. But it's ready and it's good to use it. And that's the messaging we'll bring to the market and see what happens.
Yes. Okay, I understand.
Now, I might ask if it's okay during our September board meeting for a presentation about this, because it's something I think that, Jimmy also helped with, and it's really organic. We didn't sit down as a governing board and say, let's make a telco SBOM spec. No one said that, the community did it. So it's really cool story. So I'd love to make sure that we can brief the governing board on it, because I think it's an indication of the future of OpenChain project standards.
Okay, so that seems to be a good plan. So anything else? If not, we can close the meeting, and I will see if there is more input in the second meeting today. Thank you, Masahiro-san. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you very much.
Later.
Yes.
Have a beautiful day. Take care.
Have a good morning.
Bye-bye. We will now switch to the afternoon session.
Hello, Alfred.
Hello, Mark.
Thanks for joining.
My partner is going to join right away too. So yeah. So how did the European discussion go this morning?
Okay, yes. So this morning, I had 2 persons in the meeting. There was Masahiro Daikoku from KDDI Corporation in Japan, and also the OpenChain manager Shane Kogan. So we updated some things in the specification that I will discuss later, but what we said is that now the specification is mostly stable. So if after this meeting, I will send a last email asking for comments if there are any, and if we don't receive comments, we will declare specification as version 1, but of course we can still discuss during this meeting. And what Shane proposed is that first he will organize the webinar, an OpenChain webinar, where we would describe the content of the specification, And the second step, Shane will send the specification to the OpenChain governance board and ask the board whether the specification should become an official OpenChain reference document. And the board will meet in September.
Oh, okay, very good. What's the easiest way for me to get a copy of that?
A copy of what I said?
The specification, yes, the draft specification.
Okay, the specification. Okay, I will share my screen. So the specification is available on GitHub.
Okay.
So it's under OpenChain project. There is a sub-project telco work group, and so the specification is available there. So yes, I will. Of course, I will share the later today. I will share the notes from the meeting, both this morning and this one, and I will put the link again. So what we updated this morning, we did minor updates. So one update is in the terms and definitions. We had already a reference to the RFC 2119, and we added the second sentence, which is taken from RFC 8174, that says that definitions apply only if the words are in uppercase. So that's minor. So that was a suggestion from Masahiro, and a second suggestion from him was in the conformant notice part. We already had two sentences indicating how to say that an SBOM is conformant to the specification, and we added the first paragraph, which is a way to indicate that you want to have the SBOM provided to you that is conformant to the specification, so that that's the kind of opposite. And the third modification we did was about a package URL. So let me find the modifications. So there is something called package URL, or in short, Perl, which is a standard to identify in a unique way software packages. This is a specification that was created by Philippe Ombredan, who is a guy that has produced the scan code tool, which is a tool to find all open source licenses in software source code. And he has created a specification, so-called package URL. And this specification is listed in the SPDX standard as one possibility to identify packages. So we added this sentence that a package should be identified by a package URL in the SBOM. So we decided to put should and not must because, well, in some cases it might not be possible. Perl package URL covers many languages and package managers, but not all of them. So we added this sentence, and in the reference section, we added the URL to the
or the spec.
The spec of package URL here. So it's also available on GitHub.
Yeah, we're familiar with it.
Okay, good. So that was the three additions that were proposed in the mailing list and which we approved this morning. So do you have comments or things you want to modify in the current draft?
Well, we're a little. Stephen, do you have any thoughts?
I'm just currently reading through the spec here. I don't have any comments at this stage, but I haven't finished.
Okay, yes, as I said, I will send later today an email.
No, it's all good. What we are trying to do more than anything is trying to understand what different industry sectors are doing regarding bombs, or software bombs, because we are working on an approach related to bombs, not just software bombs. And it's important that we understand how the various organizations and various groups are dealing with bombs. That's what we're looking at, and understand what they're doing. For example, we're very involved with SPDX and with Cyclone DX, and then there is some things happening at NIST, and you're familiar with NIST?
Yes.
NIST is going to be redesigning their NVD, and they're going to be looking for input from national and international organizations, for example, and they're going to be creating a consortium. So, you as telcos might be interested in looking into that as they come out. So that'll be out in the next couple weeks or so. It'll just be basically be an announcement saying they're wanting to do this. So these are just these are just examples of that we are trying to be fully aware of what's happening, because we have a different strategy regarding bombs. It doesn't impact anything that you're doing right now. It just that we want to make sure, we want to understand the compatibility and incompatibility of the industry. Is that agreeable to you, Stephen?
Yes, that's okay.
Do you have any other thoughts, Stephen?
I think at this time I don't have any other thoughts. I have to finish reading through all the documents about this standard.
If we come across anything, we can email you. Would that be okay?
Yeah. Yes. There is a mailing list which you must be part of, I suppose.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So yes, the best way is to send a message to the mailing list if you have comments or anything you want to say. So yes, I'm involved also in SPDX, especially discussions about SPDX version 3, which is not yet stabilized. So that's why we in this specification we kept the ISO standard, and yes, I was not aware of this NIST initiative.
Yeah, it's a very it was only announced, I guess it was a week ago, no, 2 weeks ago Friday. We became aware of it. And it'll be another week or two before they make the announcement. But it'll be very interesting. Because there's lots of challenges associated with various aspects of in the industry.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything else that we can add to your work right now, Mark. I appreciate as you know, there's a conflict here with the SPDX meeting, and they canceled the meeting this week. So therefore, we joined with you.
Okay. Yeah. It's always difficult to find the times that can fit in everyone's constraints.
Yeah. So certainly it's going to be interesting. Do you feel that there's a lot of compatibility with North America and European approaches and standards?
Well, yes, I'm from Nokia, so we are in an international company selling both in Europe, in North America, and the rest of the world. So yes, we need to be compatible with US standards in order to be able to sell to the US government. So yes, we really try to be aware of standards in all parts of the world.
Okay. Well, we don't want to take. I think that we could probably make the meeting shorter for you today, seeing that we're the only ones here to keep you occupied. And we're not going to be contributing a whole lot right now, but we will email you if we have some additional thoughts for you related to the work that you've done.
Okay.
You have a good day, and thank you very much for your opportunity to be here.
Okay, you're welcome. So, if nothing else, yes, we can close the meeting. So, have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye. Yeah.
Okay, so I finally managed to read through the draft specifications. There's a couple things in here that is very odd, and I would say I would disagree with. But other than that, the majority of this is saying to be take SPDX and
Yeah. That's my impression. They did not want to do anything complicated.
The big thing is that every data element that it has to be, that can be included, pretty much. So they have all these required elements, and then there's two should elements too, by the looks of it.
Okay.
What is the relationship between SPDX elements, and what is the package URL?
Okay.
Everything else is mandatory, and pretty much defaults SPDX for what says the NVID, the NVAIA SBOM minimal elements, right, which is package version, package supplier. Now, this is what they have as download location, which is going to cause them a whole bunch of problems because that can be an optional, right? Like that should be should, but not all packages will have a download location. Right? So this is going to cause some problems. There's a whole bunch of stuff that is in here and makes sense. Like most of this is fine. The first thing that I have as issues that will probably occur is what they call the 3.7, the means of SBOM delivery. And one of the things is they are saying that the SBOM should never allow to be confidential in any way. Right? Because they say the SBOM, the hosted version of SBOM must be available for 18 months and shall not in any way restrict the recipient's ability to copy and store for their own use, right? So such restriction may not be placed on the recipient to additional confidentiality. Well, this means that is very strong language, right? That means could they redistribute it, right? So what is locally, right? That is not defined in this document as a standard. So that will have to be come up with, right? Because this right in here is a big deal, right? Because this may mean that I can resell other people's SBOMs. Does that mean I can do that or not? Because locally for their own use is such a broad category, right? I understand what they're trying to say, right? But there's nothing to say that they can't republish that SBOM again, right, and resale. Not just use it for their own ability, right, but what is locally for the own use is so vague, but you could argue that you could resell that. Like, is that locally is the big question. And I don't know whether, and the big thing is locally is not in capital, which means that according to the specification, it's not in a different document. There's a lot of the terms and definitions, right? There is no term and definition for locally. So that is one of the things that I noticed right off the top is that that will become like, and then they also mandatory that you can't put a restriction on to additional confidentiality agreements, right? I can see the reason why they're saying this, but I guarantee you this will be an odd decision. And 18 months is really short, right? Right, because they're saying that a product, like it could still be being sold, but yet you can't have a version of the F-bomb available. That's still compliant with their standard. Right, because they're saying in the case of space embedded systems, because you could have built an embedded system, if it's in there for sale for more than 18 months, you don't need it, right? From the first thing, because like they are very clear. It's available for at least 18 months. When though? After the last sale, after last availability, right? Right? Is it after first production? At least 18 months. Is it 18 months from the very first, right? Now, of course, you can make it available longer, but the standard doesn't say you can't bring it down. But there's a whole bunch of stuff in here like that. They should be much more clear about the language. That's my first thing is that they publish and review the section 3.7, right? And make this far, like to understand that will products only be available for 18 months, right? Is it 18 months since this is no longer the current version being sold, right? 18 months, like you may have a product available, especially a space-constrained embedded system, right? Because F-bombs are tiny, right? Realistically, an F-bomb is under like 10K, like it's less than a megabyte. So these space-constrained embedded systems could be available for multiple years, right? So 18 months is only a year and a half, right? So yeah, and they probably should also say what is locally for their own use probably needs to be much more clarified. Because does that mean that you can sell it locally or not, right? Is that locally, right? Is locally implied that you can resell this or something like that? That's just my comment. We might not need to bring that up, but we should probably mention though that the 18 months is probably we need to clarify like that this should probably be after the product is no longer available, like considered obsolete. Right, at least 18 months after obsolescence. Right,
Okay,
so if I stop selling,
are you looking at the code section?
I am looking at. I'll send you the document here.
Well, I have the document here. I'm on the site, GitHub.
Like right there. I just sent you a link. This is the specification draft.
Yes. Okay. There's a code link. The code, the code is beside that. So what section are you talking about?
3.7, which is titled Methods of S-bomb Delivery, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like embedded into the F-bomb, right? So they're saying that they want to embed it into the package, right? Makes sense. 90% of the time, it's not going to be a problem if there's a package. If it's just a single file, you theoretically can't actually embed it because when you embed it, you update the embedding, and so you can never actually do it completely because you can't actually check the embedded because you're only checking. There's ways around it, but you just got to understand that it's incomplete checking. But It's not a big deal. The big problem with this is supplying party will supply a web-hosted version of the SBOM that is available for 18 months, at least 18 months, right? The problem is, what happens if they're selling the thing for more than 18 months? They no longer need to supply it, and yet they're still compatible, right? You can argue you're still with this standard if you sold it more than 18 months and no longer have it.
So they
available.
basically, the issue is that they have to deal with the 18 months in relation to version or a specific product.
No, it has to be after they consider it obsolete. They have to host that version for at least 18 months after obsolescence, right? Which means they're no longer selling that product. Then they would have to do it. That is the way it probably should be worded for that statement.
Okay, I think I will respond.
That would be my biggest, that's my first big comment, like, is that right, they should really be careful. Like, it's unclear right here that is this on when you deliver it to a product, right? Is this on obsolescence, right? Are we saying, like, if they have this product for 18 months, right? What happens at month 18 if it's still for sale, right? Is it just when you buy it the first time? It's unclear in the standard, right? What they're wanting from the people, right? And that it should be very clear, like 18 months, like after obsolescence or something like that, to say, like, hey, if you're selling it right now, like, it's very gray area. That's just my thought, is that they probably need to think about that requirement and make sure it is worded right as they mean, because it could be taken to read like that, right, as it is. But that's just my, like, they're trying to say that it shouldn't matter because it should always be embedded in the package, right? But in the cases it isn't, right? This is a big problem because it's a big problem because when is the recipient of the software created, right? Is if you purchase it now, right? Is it aligned? Like, they have a little bit in the rationale that clarifies, but it should be in the method. And they should also have the method of delivery separated from the hosted availability link, potentially, as another category. Because the method of delivery, like, that's a potential, but that's just my thought about how to organize the document. But anyway,
Okay,
that's
so
my first thing, is just mention that the 18 months, like, is this 18 months after the person have acquired the product, or you acquired it, or is it 18 months after first publication, right? You have to be clear, right? Because at least 18 months is not clear, right? That could be mentioned. There's a few other minor stuff throughout all of here. There's a couple things to performance notice that they'll have to eventually fix when it comes to release. Because the specification link is pointing to not to a fixed version yet, but the head thread. But that's a minor problem. It doesn't matter. Like, when they actually finally go from a draft standard to a final standard, that will be fixed. Other than that, this is just an SPDX.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Very interesting. Look at the SPDX, right? They have a creator tool. Remember how I mentioned, right? I wanted that. That is one of the things that they need to do.
Okay, so there's the 18 months. So what I wrote was, should 18 months refer to post-date obsolescence? Post-date obsolescence.
Package obsolescence, because that's what they refer to. Should the 18 months be referred to the post date of that package's obsolescence rather than just 18 months? Because what happens to package is stable for more than 18 months, right? It's unclear whether or not it would be hosted. Right.
And what else did you have?
I think that's the one that they really, that's the only one that really they don't clarify later on about what they actually mean. Because later on, like they even sort of say for rationale, but in the actual standard, right, it is unclear. Right? The rationale they sort of clarify, right? It's accessible for the recipient of the software for 18 months, with 18 months after the last system, right? So last delivery, which would mean that 18 months after obsolescence, so it should be in the method of delivery. Right? It's just minor wording changes, but they have to, right? If they want to have a successful standard, right, you better make sure that the main part of the body does not have something that the rationale should not be building specifications of a standard.
Right. Okay. That was probably worth seeing for you. Yeah. See, my impression was that they just are going to follow the SPDX standard and they don't care. See, they don't really care. They're just wanting to adhere to the standards. They're not thinking about what.
I'm not seeing what they're doing is any like. I'm just trying to think of what did they do to here that wasn't an SPDX. That's my question.
Like, well, I don't think they did anything. All they're doing is wanting to meet the spec. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I found that rather interesting that the telcos are doing that. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. And like, so pretty much, I think that this is what they're doing is they're just going to put but they don't want to mandatory. But the only thing is that this is an SPDX document specified to be able to be written in CycloneDX. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here where they obviously don't have a clue what they're talking about. Another thing is data format. Software ID, I don't think SQUID is a data format. That would be another, I'll double check, but that's it. Yeah. I'll have to double check that. SQUID. So there is software identification. There's a standard. I want to go and double check this standard, figure out, make sure that it is true what I'm saying, but yeah, I'm not sure that I'm just going to have to look. I might kind of read the technical standard just to make sure that this is true here. Tag producers establish specifications for tagging software to optimize identification management. What are the tags? Where's anyone? Wikipedia, that's as good as anything. Just going to double check. I'm gonna have to read this a little bit more because this is super complex. Yeah, with tags are more like a full. Yeah, so with tags. Yeah, so I'm not sure that's another comment that you could make if you wanted to mention is the data format, right? I'm not sure that a SWID is a data format. Right, like it's not in the same class as SPDX and Cycle and DX. Right, I thought SWID was a software identifier, right? I didn't think that was right. It is a format, right? But I don't think that would be how you would exchange the SBOM inside of a SWID. Right, that doesn't make sense. That would be my other comment with this thing. So that would be section 2 data format. Other terms and definitions of data format.
Yeah. Well, I already sent the email, so I'm not going to bother adding to it.
Okay, so it's done. Okay. It will definitely show that we read through it once and said, hey, 18 months should be more clear. Like what you want from 18 months, because it isn't clear, like this is on the date of acquisition for a client, right? Or what? Right, and having an unclarity in licensing is never a good thing.
Oh yeah, that would be very bad.
Yeah. And the big thing is, like, they sort of tried to clear it up later on under rationale, but it should always be clear from the beginning.